Just one hand holds sparkling. Jimin can't hold back his tears as Jungkook's silent promise shakes thousands of hearts' microphone sparkles. Don't let go, Jungkook. Please just hold my hand. The whisper trembled like glass in Jimin's throat, barely audible over the deafening roar of 70,000 screaming fans. But Jungkook heard it. Through the haze of spotlights, smoke, and the bass vibrating beneath their feet, he turned his head sharply, eyes wide, wild with disbelief. The stadium pulsed with purple light. Confetti drifted like snow through the humid night air. From the outside, it was just another legendary BTS encore, another perfect ending. But in that single, trembling second, everything was wrong. Jimin's grip was tight, too tight. His fingers wrapped around Jungkook's hand like it was the only thing anchoring him to reality. His knuckles white, his skin cold. The tear that slid silently down his cheek glistened briefly beneath the strobes before vanishing into the sweat on his jaw. Jungkook didn't speak. He couldn't. Not with the cameras watching. Not with the weight of the unspoken pressing between their palms. The music swelled around them. The fans were singing. Taehyung was laughing somewhere behind them, throwing hearts into the crowd. Namjoon's voice echoed, thanking ARMY once again. But Jungkook couldn't hear anything except the crack in Jimin's voice. The desperation, the fear. What the hell was going on? The entire show had gone flawlessly, until now. But then again, flawless was a word they wore like armor. They were trained to smile through everything, pain, exhaustion, heartbreak. Jimin was the best at it, until now. Jungkook didn't let go. He tightened his grip instead, and for just a second he squeezed back, just once firmly like a silent promise. I'm here, whatever this is, I won't let go. Jimin's lower lip trembled, but he turned his face away from the cameras. He couldn't afford to break. Not here, not now, not again. Backstage, behind the glittering facade, the chaos had already begun to unravel. Their manager's phone had been ringing nonstop. The label had sent 3 urgent texts, one from Bang PD himself. The tension had been palpable even before they stepped on stage, but no one had dared to say the word. Leak. That was all it took to turn heaven into hell. A single word. A leak about something no one was supposed to know. Something buried so deeply that even most of the staff didn't know the full truth. But now, someone did, and they had spoken. Jimin had seen it on the monitor 5 minutes before the final song. Park Jimin, involved in private agreement with member. Reason for hiatus revealed. It wasn't the words. It was the photo attached. Grainy, half-blurred, but unmistakably real. Him, Jungkook, a hotel hallway. Jimin's hand gripping Jungkook's jacket, eyes wide and pleading. No context, no explanation, just enough to light a fire too big to contain. And now, standing in the center of a stadium glowing with love and blind adoration, Jimin felt like a traitor. His heart pounded. Every breath felt too loud, too raw. He blinked rapidly to hold back more tears. Jungkook's hand in his was the only thing keeping him from shattering into a million pieces. He had to tell him, but not here, not in front of the world. The fireworks exploded above them, painting the night sky gold. The crowd roared. And Jimin finally let go of Jungkook's hand. But his eyes stayed locked on him. The moment the song ended, Jimin bowed deeply, too deeply, and turned to walk off stage. His steps were steady, but every muscle screamed with the effort of holding it together. Jungkook followed seconds later, confusion and a rising storm of dread boiling in his gut. Backstage was a flurry of stylists, crew, and shadows. But Jimin kept walking until he reached the furthest dressing room, doors shut, silence thick. Jungkook didn't knock. He opened the door slowly, gently. Jimin was sitting on the floor, back against the wall, head in his hands. His jacket was discarded beside him, hands trembling in his lap. They know, Jimin whispered. Jungkook closed the door behind him. Know what? He asked, even though his heart already knew the answer. Jimin looked up, and in his eyes was a storm Jungkook had never seen before. Shame, guilt, fear, and something else, something closer to surrender. The hotel, that night, the fight, everything. The silence that followed was unbearable. Jungkook sat down beside him, their shoulders touching. The room smelled faintly of sweat and stage makeup, but beneath that, Jimin's scent, warm, familiar, still lingered. Lavender and something sharper like rain. Who leaked it? I don't know. Do you think they'll? I don't care, Jimin cut him off, his voice raw. I care that it'll hurt you. I should have protected you. You did, Jungkook said quietly. You always have. A long pause. Jimin swallowed hard. They're going to twist it, turn it into something ugly, make you out to be. They can try, Jungkook interrupted, but I'm not letting go. Jimin looked at him then, eyes wide, stunned by the quiet force in Jungkook's voice. This isn't just about a scandal, Jimin whispered. This is about everything we buried, everything we never said, if this goes public. It's already gone, Jungkook said. Another pause. And then, slowly, Jimin reached for his hand again. Not for the cameras, not for the fans, not for the performance. Just for him. And Jungkook took it, without hesitation. For a long time, they sat there, two idols in the eye of a storm, their hands entwined like a lifeline. The world outside was already burning. But inside that room, there was still something unspoken holding them together. Not love, not exactly. A promise. Silent. Unbreakable. Just one hand hold. Who the hell gave them that footage? Namjoon's voice thundered across the narrow corridor like a war drum, silencing even the assistant who had been mid-sentence. His clipboard trembled in his hands, half crushed under the leader's clenched fist. No one answered. No one could. The dressing room hallway of the Seoul Dome was a suffocating maze of urgent whispers and 1,000 eyes pretending not to watch. Inside the farthest dressing room, the door was locked. Jungkook leaned against it, arms crossed, heart thudding like a warning bell. Jimin hadn't moved in 10 minutes. His head was resting against the cool wall, eyes half closed, fingers twitching as if replaying every moment that led to this. The photo, the silence, the hand hold. Outside, chaos. Inside, stillness, like the final inhale before a scream. Jungkook broke it. You knew they had it. Jimin flinched. I saw your face, Jungkook said, stepping forward, voice low, fire cracking beneath every word. Before the encore, you knew and you didn't tell me. I couldn't, Jimin whispered. If I had told you, you wouldn't have been able to go on stage. You would have looked at me differently. I am looking at you differently, Jungkook snapped. But not because of the photo, because you didn't trust me. Jimin turned sharply, eyes blazing now, the quiet shattered. You think this is about trust. This is about survival, Jungkook. This industry doesn't forgive. You know that better than anyone. I trusted you enough to walk into that hotel room. I trusted you enough to let my guard down. Now the whole world's going to dissect that moment like it's filth, and you think I'm mad about PR. A long, volatile pause crackled between them. Neither of them moved. Their breaths were ragged, their faces too close. Don't act like you didn't want that moment to stay buried, Jimin hissed. We both did. We needed to. Jungkook's jaw clenched. Yeah, I wanted it buried, but not because I was ashamed of you. Jimin's breath caught. You think I am? He asked, voice thin, barely a thread. A knock on the door shattered the air like glass. Taehyung, Taehyung's voice came through, muffled. It's getting worse. They're already cutting the live stream. Dispatch is tweeting. Jungkook opened the door just a crack. Taehyung's face was pale. His phone screen glowed blue in his hand. Hashtags are trending in 32 countries, he said. Armies divided. Half are defending you, the other half. He didn't finish. Jimin stepped forward. What exactly leaked? Let me see. Taehyung hesitated, then handed him the phone. Jimin scrolled once, then twice. His face went blank. It wasn't just a photo. It was video. Jimin cornering Jungkook in the hallway. Jimin's voice, raw, choked. Don't go, not yet, please. Then a glimpse of Jungkook's hand brushing against his jaw, not pulling away. There was no kiss, no confession, just everything unspoken between them laid bare in a 30-second clip. And the captions were poison. Caught, BTS members in secret rendezvous. Jimin's jealous breakdown. Jungkook's silence, guilt or love. I'm going to kill whoever leaked this, Jungkook said, his voice shaking with a fury that felt foreign even to himself. No, Jimin said, colder now. We need to be smart. If we go after them, it'll confirm everything. We need to deny it. But Jungkook wasn't listening. His blood was boiling, not with shame, but with the fact that Jimin still couldn't see it. I'm done pretending, Jungkook said. The room went still. Jimin looked at him like he was seeing him for the first time. Done pretending what? Jungkook stepped forward, closing the distance. His voice was low and devastating. That night wasn't a mistake, and I'm not going to stand here and watch you erase it just because it's easier than telling the truth. You don't understand. No, you don't. I've been swallowing this for 2 years, Taehyung. Every time you smiled at me in front of the cameras and refused to meet my eyes backstage. Every time you called me brother in interviews and avoided being alone with me. You don't get to say this now, Jimin said, trembling. Not when everything's falling apart. That's exactly why I have to say it now. Jimin turned away, fists clenched. Do you think I don't want to tell the truth? He said, voice cracking. Do you think I don't lie awake every night wishing we could just be, without hiding, without fear? Then say it, Jungkook whispered. Say what you want. Jimin was silent. And then he whispered it, so softly Jungkook almost missed it. I want you. Everything stopped. Not just in the room, but in Jungkook's chest. The clock ticked once on the wall. Then the door slammed open. Yoongi stood there, face pale, a folder in his hand. No words, just dread. He handed it to Jimin. What is this? Jimin asked, flipping it open. A document, confidential, BIGHIT letterhead. Disciplinary protocol for violation of privacy and image management. Names redacted, but the meaning was clear. This is real, Jungkook asked. They're preparing to suspend someone, Yoongi said. Or multiple people, and it's not just about the leak, it's about you too. We didn't do anything, Jimin protested. You didn't need to, Yoongi said, his voice weary. All they need is a scandal big enough to make you liabilities. That video, it's already being dissected by news outlets. BIGHIT is going to make someone take the fall. Jungkook looked at the paper again. So what now? Jimin turned to him. For the first time, he looked completely unguarded. Broken, beautiful, real. Now, he said, we fight. And Jungkook smiled, not with joy, but with resolve. Then, let's give them something worth fighting for. Outside the room, the chaos raged on calls, tweets, headlines. Fans sobbing. Reporters circling like vultures. But inside, something unshakable had just begun to burn. Not just love. Not just truth. A revolution. And it started with just one hand hold. You're going to choose him over the group. The air snapped like a whip as Seokjin's voice rang out, loud, sharp, unforgiving. He stood in the doorway, arms crossed, face unreadable, but his eyes were burning. Jungkook didn't flinch, neither did Jimin. Taehyung looked between them, trapped in the blast radius, eyes wide with disbelief. Taehyung, don't do this here, not like this. No, Jin said, stepping in, door slamming behind him. Exactly like this. The room had become a war zone. Yoongi still sat in the corner, silent but alert. Namjoon was packing now, phone glued to his ear, talking in fast, furious whispers to someone on the other end, probably legal. Hosok stood by the window, jaw clenched, arms limp at his sides like he was trying to keep himself from shaking. Jimin moved first. He stepped forward, voice calm, too calm. This isn't about choosing anyone over the group. This is about you and Jungkook, Jin interrupted, ice in every syllable. And the fact that you two put yourselves above BTS the moment you crossed that line. Jungkook's voice came out low and hard. What line, Taehyung? The line where we're not allowed to be human. Jin scoffed. Don't twist this into some poetic tragedy. You knew exactly what it would mean if anyone found out, and you still let it happen. No, Jimin said. We didn't let it happen. It happened to us. That night, that moment, it wasn't planned. It wasn't a scandal waiting to explode. It was real. Real doesn't matter when it's dangerous, Namjoon cut in, finally hanging up. His voice wasn't angry, it was exhausted. The company is preparing to ask for a temporary hiatus for both of you. Jungkook laughed bitterly. Temporary. That's what they said about Taehyung's dating scandal, too. Temporary fallout. He still can't post with his dog without people dissecting the background of the photo for a hidden girl. Taehyung looked away, guilt flashing across his face. Yoongi finally stood. Enough. Everyone turned. This isn't about loyalty, or betrayal, or the label. It's about fear. Fear of what happens when our reality doesn't match the fantasy the world wants. He looked at Jin. You're scared just like the rest of us, because this isn't just about fans. This is about sponsors, contracts, billions of won, stadiums, the empire we built. And we built it together, Jin snapped. We are still together, Jimin said, softer now. But something broke the moment we started lying to each other, when we made our feelings shameful, when we decided that love, any kind, was a threat. Silence fell like a curtain, heavy, breathless. Then Hosok spoke, voice hollow. What happens now? Yoongi handed Namjoon his phone. Play that. A short video began, taken from the crowd during the encore, not by an anti-fan but by someone who loved them. It showed Jimin grabbing Jungkook's hand, the desperation in his face. The way Jungkook turned to him, not with shock but with something deeper, fierce, defiant. The moment looked raw, honest. The caption on the fan's tweet. I don't care what anyone says. That wasn't a scandal. That was someone breaking down and the person he trusted most holding him up. This is love. This is real. It had already hit 2 million likes. Hash was trending. They're not all against you, Yoongi said. But if you don't get in front of this, the silence will bury you. Namjoon nodded grimly. We need to release a joint statement, not a denial. A reframing, control the narrative, honesty but measured. We say we're close, Jimin murmured, already seeing the script. But not romantic. No, Jungkook said, we don't lie. Then you'll both be suspended, Namjoon said. Maybe blacklisted from future promotions. The tour will be cut short. Jin's enlistment comeback will be compromised. The brand will fracture. I'd rather fracture the brand than fracture us, Jungkook said, eyes burning. I'm tired of bleeding for perfection. The words hit harder than anyone expected. Jin stepped back slightly, visibly shaken. Taehyung walked over to Jimin, quietly, gently. Do you love him? Jimin blinked, slowly. Yes. Taehyung nodded. Then don't let them write your story. The room felt different now. The tension hadn't vanished, but it had changed shape, from rage to reckoning. Yoongi glanced toward the door. There's a press rep waiting in the lower lot. BIGHIT wants a controlled statement out in the next 2 hours. Jungkook looked at Jimin. We do this together. Jimin nodded. The others watched them walk out, hand in hand again. But this time not hidden, not trembling. Visible, unapologetic. In the elevator down, Jimin's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. This is just the beginning. There's more. And this time it won't be so pretty. Attached, a grainy screenshot. An argument, a shadowed face, a name in the corner. Hosok. Jimin stared at it, blood draining from his face. Jungkook looked over his shoulder. What is it? Jimin didn't answer right away. Because the war wasn't over. It had only just begun. You need to see this. Jimin's voice was hollow, barely human. He handed the phone to Jungkook like it weighed 1,000 kilograms. Jungkook looked at the screen, the message, the threat, the image. The room inside was unfamiliar, dimly lit, with shadows cast by one weak overhead light. But the face in the corner, though blurred and partially turned, There was no mistaking it. Hosok, you think this is real? Jungkook asked, trying to keep his voice from cracking. I don't know, Jimin said, but someone's playing us. This is personal now. The elevator doors opened with a ding that felt too sharp, too normal. A press representative waited just beyond the lobby, a clean-cut man in a sharp suit and dead eyes. His clipboard was full, his phone lit with incoming messages faster than he could swipe them away. Gentlemen, he said, tone clipped. We're out of time. The board is demanding immediate action. Jungkook ignored him. He was still looking at the image. The timestamp in the corner caught his eye, 3:22 a.m., 2 nights ago. That was the night after their Osaka concert. The night Jimin had locked himself in his hotel room and refused to speak. Hosok had been the only one who knocked on the door, stayed by it for 2 hours without a word. I thought he was helping me, Jimin whispered. Jungkook slid the phone into his jacket and grabbed Jimin's hand again. Let's find out the truth before we burn the wrong person. They didn't go to the press conference. Instead, they turned back and stormed into the underground lot where the other vans were lined up. Backstage, the group was imploding. Namjoon had locked himself in a private conference room to call legal. Yoongi was reviewing past footage, digging through old surveillance files he'd saved, just in case. Seokjin was staring at his reflection in the mirror, like he was looking for the cracks in his own face. And Hosok was standing by the water cooler, alone. When Jimin walked in, the air changed. Hosok turned slowly, smiled, but his eyes weren't right. You know, when I saw that picture, Jimin said quietly, I didn't want to believe it, but you were there, that night. The camera caught you. I was there, Hosok said, voice even, but not for the reason you think. Then tell me, Jimin demanded. Tell me what happened at 3:22 a.m. Hosok took a long, slow breath. I got a call, he said, from someone at HYBE's internal risk department. They said you were unstable, that you'd had a breakdown. They told me to go check on you and record the conversation. Proof that everything was under control. I didn't want to do it, but I did, because I thought I was protecting you. Jungkook stepped forward, fists clenched. And you didn't think to tell us. You didn't think we deserved to know they were surveilling us in our own rooms. They've been doing it for years, Hosok said, bitter now. Do you really think we were ever alone? Jimin staggered back like he'd been struck. You recorded me. I didn't use it, Hosok shouted. I never shared it. I deleted it the second I left that hallway. Then how did it get out? Jungkook snarled. I don't know. Silence thundered around them. Jimin's hands were shaking. He leaned against the wall, unable to look at either of them. This isn't just about the scandal anymore, he said. Someone's trying to destroy us from the inside. Taehyung appeared in the doorway, his phone in his hand, face pale as frost. There's more, he said. Another leak just hit dispatch. It's an internal group chat screenshot. Jungkook took the phone. The image showed part of a conversation from their private members, only chat, one from last year. It was messy, full of frustrations, venting after a brutal rehearsal. The line that stood out. Jungkook, sometimes I wonder if we're just puppets in gold chains. The media was eating it alive. BTS internal rift. Jungkook calls out industry slavery. This is war, Namjoon said, appearing behind them, face drawn and pale. They've been archiving our weakest moments, preparing for this, like they knew we'd break eventually. Who? Jimin whispered. Who's doing this? Yoongi walked in, holding a USB drive in his hand like it was nuclear. I found something, he said. The Osaka hotel had offline CCTV backups. Guess who accessed the archive server 3 days ago under a staff login? Who? Jungkook asked. Yoongi looked grim. One of our own, one of the choreographers. He's been working with us for 5 years. He's been forwarding surveillance clips and voice recordings to a dummy account. Why? Hosok asked. Why would he betray us? Yoongi hesitated. Because he was paid, he said finally, by someone inside the board. Jimin's knees buckled. Jungkook caught him before he fell. This was never about us, Jimin whispered. This was about leverage, control, keeping us silent. Namjoon sat down, rubbing his temples. We need to get ahead of this. We go live. Our words, our terms, no statements, no handlers. No PR, Jungkook said, just truth. The plan was set in motion within the hour. A live stream, no edits, no management, 7 chairs, 1 room, 1 camera. The members filed in, each of them pale and quiet. The room filled with millions of viewers within seconds. Jimin sat between Jungkook and Hosok. The silence stretched for a full 10 seconds before Namjoon spoke. Tonight, he said, we're not idols, we're just people, and we have something to say. And they said it. The truth, the love, the fear, the betrayal. Jimin cried halfway through when he spoke about the moment he thought about walking away for good. Jungkook held his hand beneath the table, the grip firm, grounding. Yoongi spoke about the manipulation behind the scenes. Taehyung confessed how close he came to leaking the truth himself, out of rage and loneliness. Even Jin's voice cracked when he spoke about the sacrifices they'd all made. Family, freedom, self. When it ended, there was no PR spin, no apology, just a final sentence from Jimin. We're not perfect, but we're not liars either. The stream ended. And the world didn't burn. Not right away. But in a tower far above the city, a boardroom full of executives watched in silence, and one of them stood up. She warned us this would happen, the woman said coldly. Initiate Protocol 7. Are you sure? The assistant asked. Yes, she replied. We destroy them, or they destroy everything we've built. Far from the lights and the screens, in the still of their quiet dorm, Jungkook sat beside Jimin, their hands still intertwined. But they both knew the peace wouldn't last. Because what they'd uncovered was deeper than love. It was a system built to break them. And it had just declared war. Why are the dorm lights off? Jungkook's voice was quiet, but the tension in his chest was screaming. The van pulled into the underground garage like a predator returning to its den, and something was wrong. Too quiet, too still. Not a single hallway light flickered. Not a sound. Not even the soft hum of electronics they'd come to associate with home. Jimin shifted beside him, face tense. We've never turned them off, not even during vacations. The driver didn't speak, didn't make eye contact. The van stopped. The doors clicked open. Don't go up yet, Yoongi said from the front seat. He had his phone pressed to his ear, and his voice had dropped to that razor-thin whisper he only used when he smelled blood in the water. I'm not getting a signal. They cut the building's Wi-Fi. Jin looked up. What the hell? I don't like this, Taehyung muttered. He was already pulling the hood of his jacket up, like instinct was telling him to make himself smaller. Jungkook stepped out anyway. The air in the garage was thick, heavy with a scent he couldn't place, like burnt plastic and cold metal, something chemical, wrong. A soft click echoed through the silence. Jungkook froze. Cameras, hidden ones. He saw the glint on the ceiling just above the elevator, not the company-issued ones. Smaller, stealthy, planted. They're watching us, he said. Yoongi stepped out next, eyes scanning like a hawk. Protocol 7. Jimin turned. What is that? Yoongi didn't answer immediately. Then he did, and his voice was ice. It's what they do when an asset goes rogue. Asset. That word made Jungkook want to tear something apart, but Jimin just stood there, eyes wide, breathing shallow. They think we're a threat now, Yoongi continued. Not a scandal, not a PR fire, a threat. Namjoon finally emerged from the van. That means one thing. They're going to erase us from the inside. Silence fell like a thunderclap. Hosok spoke next, voice uncharacteristically flat. We're being blacklisted. They'll start small, Jin said. Cut sponsorships, cancel future appearances, then they'll rewrite the contracts. Say we violated image clauses, emotional instability, insubordination. Leak internal reports, Taehyung added. Make it look like we were the ones who snapped. Protocol 7 ends with one of two outcomes, Yoongi said. Resignation or collapse. Jimin looked up, voice barely above a whisper. Why? The question wasn't rhetorical. It was raw, broken. Jungkook turned to him. Because the truth we told tonight was bigger than us. They took the stairs, silently. No one trusted the elevator, not anymore. When they reached the dorm, their worst fears were confirmed. The door had been unlocked, lights still off. The place ransacked, not in the chaotic, messy way of a break-in, but methodically. Files gone, personal photos removed from walls, laptops missing. Even the hard drive Yoongi had backed up his compositions on, wiped. My entire archive is gone, Yoongi said, voice hollow. Everything. Where's the dog? Taehyung suddenly cried out, pushing into his room. He reappeared seconds later, panic on his face. Yeontan's gone. Jin rushed into the kitchen. The fridge is empty, food's trashed. It's psychological, Namjoon muttered. They want us to feel erased, like we never existed outside the system. Jimin walked to his room. Everything was untouched except for one thing. On his bed sat a single sheet of paper. He picked it up with trembling fingers. It was a printed photo, black and white, from years ago backstage in Busan. He was hugging Jungkook from behind. No fans, no makeup, just two people caught in a moment of pure joy. Across the bottom, someone had written in red marker. This is the last time you were safe. He dropped it. Jungkook was at his side in an instant. That's it, he said. We go public again. This time we name names. Namjoon stepped in. No, if we do that now, we hand them the narrative. We need evidence. They're destroying evidence, Yoongi snapped. What do you want us to wait for? Our contracts to be leaked with fabricated signatures. We need someone inside, Hosok said slowly. Someone on the board, someone who knows what they're planning. Taehyung paced, hands in his hair. Everyone up there is loyal to Bang PD or HYBE's shareholders. No one's going to risk their career for us. No, Jin said, but there was one person, once. They all looked at him. Jin nodded. Min Seo-hyun. The name hit like a bell in a cathedral. Deep, echoing, forgotten by most, but not by Jimin. She was head of public relations. Left 3 years ago under strange circumstances, Jimin said. She didn't leave, Jin corrected. She was pushed out after she tried to block a policy that allowed private surveillance on contracted artists. She fought it and lost. Jungkook's voice was sharp. Where is she now? Independent consultant, off the grid mostly, but I know how to reach her. Do it, Namjoon said. If we can get her to talk, we might survive this. Outside, the building's security lights flickered. Inside, the boys sat in the ruins of their home, surrounded by absence. And then Jimin's phone rang. No caller ID. He answered it without hesitation. A voice, female cold, spoke. You're not supposed to win this. Jimin's heart slammed against his ribs. You don't know what they've buried. Walk away now or we dig up everything, even what you thought was dead. The call ended. Jungkook was already grabbing the phone. We trace that, now. Yoongi nodded, pulling out his backup device. Jimin sat on the floor, numb. His eyes were wide, haunted. What did she mean? Taehyung asked. Jimin didn't answer. Because he already knew. There was something he had buried, forgotten. And if they were threatening to use that, this wasn't just a war anymore. It was a countdown. And the next explosion would come from inside.